Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the really ill-considered, imprudent, and political prosecution against a Congresswoman, LaMonica McIver, in New Jersey, and how it is beginning already to unwind. Now, when it first was charged, or even when we first had from Alina Habba a press conference, one of the 26 missteps and departure from norms here is she did her press conference without having released the actual complaint. So we didn't even know if she was sticking to the four corners of it. But at the time, there were many, to me, signs that this was not going to go well for the DOJ, nor should it. Starting, by the way, with the presence of Habba herself, who had said incredibly foolishly, I want to use this office to help turn the U.S. Attorney's Office to help turn New Jersey red. I have a Substack from a few days ago where I compared that to a doctor saying first do harm. It's like the complete opposite thing of what any U.S. attorney should be doing. But we're getting more kind of indications by people who have looked more carefully at it. Let me start with this point that I hadn't made before, which is that the whole this is all based on a criminal complaint filed by an agent for DHS. And that is a legitimate way to begin a case, although you then have to go to a grand jury within 30 days. So that clock is ticking. But Robert Tanzi, who is a special agent with Homeland Security, for starters, no way anyone from Homeland Security should be filing this complaint. Homeland Security, the supposed victim of the shoving and assaulting by McIver, are in Homeland Security. And that means the entire agency has to be recused. You can't, for the government, try to be representing, the victim. That's why one of the reasons why the DOJ would take it over. You'd have someone from the FBI. So that's a big glaring problem with the complaint. And here's another. I averted to this, but people are looking more at it. So Tanzi adds these very carefully selected stills. And the stills reveal some manner of physical contact with McIver and agents. But really, all you can tell from the stills is, well, it looks as if the forearm is touching the back and that sort of thing. They are completely consistent with, and from the little video I had seen, they looked more consistent with just a whole scrum and mess and everybody pushing everybody, etc. And for one, that's on DHS. You should not be in a situation of an arrest. That's a classic bonehead move to not have staged it elsewhere, which this is when they were coming in on the mayor of Newark, which charges for trespass, also inane political charges for trespass that they since had to dismiss. But so that first, that scrum is on them. But second, we have a statute here. I've mentioned this before that really requires some kind of real assault and intent to impede. And these pictures seem really consistent with just a, kind of mess, like a crowded subway. And people who have now seen the whole video say indeed, that's what it really seems to be. She's getting it. She's giving it. People are, it's like getting out of a crowded arena after a concert or something. That's what's going on. Not an assault under 18 U.S.C. 111A1. So it looks increasingly bad if and when it goes to trial. And remember, Habba tried to get out of it by offering a deal supposedly to McIver, but McIver would have had to basically be contrite and apologize and say she had done it and she wasn't going to and didn't want to. But if it goes to trial, Agent Tansey is going to get clobbered on the stand, both for being part of the Homeland Security, but every tendentious, slanted part of the complaint. Will also be interesting to look at any difference between the complaint and the indictment. I assume they'll be able to get an indictment, but even that is not certain. If the good people of New Jersey who are sitting on the grand jury will greenlight almost everything a prosecutor asked for, but this one is really pretty rank. Okay, in addition, remember the genesis of this is the mayor is with the members of Congress. He goes into this sort of place, like between the street and the actual facility. They let him in. Nobody knows any different. And then somebody comes and says, "You, mayor, can't be here," and kind of jawbones him and says, "If you do, I'm going to arrest you. I'm going to arrest you. I'm going to arrest you." At which point the mayor leaves. Then when he's outside on public property, not trespassing anywhere, is when they come out to arrest him for trespass, charges that they have to drop. And we had the first hearing in this case yesterday, and the judge was really zeroed in on this and basically said, this really seems to have been this arrest of the mayor here. Mayor Baraka said it looked like a, quote, worrisome misstep by the New Jersey U.S. Attorney's Office, noting the apparent rush in bringing the case that culminated in the government's embarrassing retraction of the charge, and went on to say your role, and he's lecturing the AUSA here, the New Jersey prosecutor, is not to secure convictions at all costs, not to satisfy public clamor, nor to advance political agendas. So that's really coming within an eyelash of just saying the fact that is really clear here. LaMonica McIver was arrested and charged because she's a Democratic member of Congress. And of course, those charges normally have to run by the public integrity section, but it's just been decimated by this administration, which in addition has just gotten rid of the requirement, leaving the decision to whom? Back to where we started, Alina Habba, who wants to use it expressly to advance the Republican cause in New Jersey. She, I think also, if it goes to trial, might be fair game, and normally wouldn't be, but she might be fair game to have to take the stand. Paul Fishman, the attorney for McIver and a former U.S. attorney himself, would just mop up the floor with her. He'd have so much to work with that shows her political bias, and that's what's going on. Let me take a basic step back. So there are 6 things that, and more that we've shown. It's the video may not at all show any kind of assault. I talked to you before about the legal standard in the Third Circuit, which I think is more than physical contact, but actual threatening physical contact, putting the agents in fear of being harmed. I don't see that here. The whole misstep with the mayor, which they had to embarrassingly retract. The effort to get her to say, "I'm sorry," without bringing charges. The complaint itself, which first is completely inappropriately done by a member of the very force that was supposedly victimized here, and then the likely inconsistencies between the sort of slanted, purposely chosen stills and what a video is really going to show. And I've mentioned this before too, the fact that after this apparently terrible assault, they take her on the tour anyway within the facility. That, if somebody had just really assaulted an officer, that's not going to be the time to say, "Oh, please come in and let us show you everything." This is unraveling, and and we now know that the judge sees it for what it is, a political prosecution. So it's just gonna, with every, at every sort of procedural turn, like, you have to now give over, the next step very soon will be discovery. And the prosecution has to give stuff to Paul Fishman and the defense. And that's got to include, I think, the whole video, among other, or whatever they have. There's no one video. It's a composite of different people's iPhones and the like, but whatever they have has to be given. And anything that could potentially be exculpatory to her has to be given. It'll give him tons to work with. I just see this, if now they don't get out of it, and I don't think McIver wants to get out of it now. I think she wants to make a point, and, she's have this hang over her until, for maybe 6 months or so, until the trial. But really, I think it shows her strong and pushing back against the politicized DOJ. So, and I just think at every turn, it'll look worse and worse for Haba, for Bondi, for Trump, and it will really expose a rank political effort. In no world would a sort of stray bystander who is out front there and has this little kind of scuffle, if it's even that, a little kind of, pushing scrum that they're in the middle of, ever have been charged. But so the charge against a congresswoman, a Democratic congresswoman, for being involved in the arrest, a bogus arrest, that was later dropped against the mayor, a Democratic mayor of Newark, is just gonna, really, the stench of it is going to get stronger at every procedural turn. And this is, I think, going to end poorly for the Department of Justice. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.